Hey everyone, we are back with another reaction video. This time I'm going to be reacting to my 1 month update post gastric bypass surgery. This is my most viewed video on my other channel and I haven't watched it since I posted it, so I don't remember what I said in this video, so I'm looking at it with fairly fresh eyes, so let's just hop straight into it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I did an update at 3 weeks and I said at that point that I was only going to do updates every 2 weeks. However, my 1 month anniversary from my gastric bypass surgery happens to fall at about the 4.5 week mark, so here we are. I felt that it was a big enough milestone that it warranted its own update. I don't know how frequently I'm going to update from here on out, but I do want to keep you guys in the loop. I enjoy sharing with you guys sort of where I'm at and the changes that have happened. One thing I can already see between this video and then the video that I posted on the day that I went into surgery is just how much more happy I look already. I can just like hear it in my voice, I can see it. You can already tell that a major change has taken place. Where my head's at, all of that kind of thing. I find it cathartic in a way. This is sort of my therapy, if you will. I'm not a journaler. I have tried, people have recommended it. I would love to be a journaler. I don't have the motivation to do it. I don't really have the time to do it. And I guess at the end of the day, I just don't stick with it. Like, I love buying journals, love it. I have a number of them scattered throughout my house, but I just don't use them. So for me, it's a lot easier to just sort of just let all the words come out in this way and then they're out. Some things don't change, that is one of them. I have no end of notebooks all scattered around. I don't journal. So I guess I just made you all my therapist, but there it is. So there are a few topics that I want to cover today, and I'm going to try to keep myself organized just so that this doesn't become a protracted, rambly mess. So I want to talk about what I'm eating now that I'm a month out of surgery, how physically I'm feeling and how I'm doing, and then also just emotionally what the changes have been and sort of where my head's at this point. So let's just dive straight into the food aspect of it, because as of 4 weeks post-op, I was allowed to start introducing solid foods back into my diet. And I've been living for that for quite some time. Oh yes, I remember being very excited, very nervous to start solid foods again, but very excited because I had been on liquids for a very long time. We all remember the hell that was my liquid diet. There was the 3 weeks pre-operative and then 2 weeks of full fluids after surgery. And then I moved on to purees, and then I was on a week of soft foods. And here we are now where I can introduce some solid foods. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to do a couple of videos where I talk about like meal ideas at each different stage. I'm not a nutritionist, I am not a dietitian, so always follow your surgeon's advice, but if you would like some just meal ideas, let me know and I'd be happy to make some videos like that. So for the most part, my diet is still soft foods, so I'm eating things like scrambled eggs, omelets. I haven't done the cereal thing yet, but that's an option that's available to me. Yogurt, stuff like that. Canned tuna, things. You get the idea. But now I'm also able to introduce real foods, and that has been a bit of a trip. I'm enjoying that because now I'm actually eating the same foods as my family, which I haven't done in almost 2 months. So that has been quite nice. I'm still struggling with learning my body's cues, especially in terms of when I'm full. At the very beginning, it was quite easy because it just felt like everything was sitting like right up here. And now it's a little bit more difficult to tell. I still don't get hungry. I will eventually. Right now I don't get hungry, so I just kind of eat around the same time every day so that I just established a routine for it.
I kind of miss not having hunger cues. That made it so much easier at the beginning. And I know that that's not like a universal experience. Some people still have hunger cues, but I didn't for like a few months. And it really did make that transition for me so much easier.
And I have to learn to slow it down. I made a very painful mistake a few days ago where I ate too quickly. I didn't eat too much, but I ate too quickly, and I don't think I chewed properly. And I had a 3-hour just horrific experience after that of just pain. It was the worst stomach ache that I can remember having. It felt like I'd swallowed like razor blades or something. And I was really kind of hoping that it would turn to nausea just so that it would come out and it would be over. But no such luck.
I remember that. I had eaten like a few turkey meatballs. Go slow. If you've had this procedure and you are just into that like reintroducing yourself to food stage, go slow, little tiny bites. Just trust me. It's horrific if you go too fast. It just, oh my goodness. I still remember 2 and a bit years later, I still remember how much that hurt.
Had to grin and bear it, and it was not pleasant. So very painful lesson to learn, but the learning curve at least is pretty much a straight line up. So I'm working on that and really keeping that pain at the forefront of my mind so that I don't do that again. Thankfully, I haven't developed any food intolerances, at least none that I've become aware of at this point.
Wait for it, because I did develop them over time. Cow's milk, I can't do that anymore. And things like steak, it still just does not sit well with me at all. So it's just a food that I no longer eat because it just feels like I'm swallowing rocks. It just sits really heavily in my stomach and it kind of hurts as well. Also potatoes, they mess up my blood sugar so badly. And it's best for me to just avoid the pitfall that is potatoes in particular. And I don't miss it. I don't even bother because it just makes me feel so crummy that I just can't be bothered with it.
And I'm finding that even though I'm eating like little tiny portions, and when I look at it, I'm like, you're small. I'm not feeling deprived. So one of the big concerns that I had going into this was that I was going to miss food and that I was going to miss the act of shoving my face full of food, to put not too fine a point on it. And I have not. I can eat that half a burrito and I know that my body is full and I don't begrudge it. I don't feel like I'm being deprived. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything.
That still holds true today. Like just the other day we ordered pizza for dinner and I had one slice and that was all that I needed. My stomach, I was full and I didn't feel deprived. Wherein the past I would have just continued eating simply because I liked the taste, regardless of how full I felt. I would have kept eating and I would have felt like I was missing out if I had stopped at one slice. Now it's okay, and now we have leftovers, and if I still want pizza tomorrow, I can have pizza tomorrow. I can have another slice. I don't feel deprived. And even the foods that I said that I no longer eat, like steak, I just don't bother with it because it bugs my stomach so much. There's a built-in aversion, so I don't miss it. It's not a thought that occupies my mind. So my concern about missing certain foods or missing the act of binging and all of that has not borne out because it's really a non-issue for me at this point.
I'm just experimenting with new foods and I am enjoying that process. I actually really like going grocery shopping now, and I really, I spend a lot of time looking at labels, and it's just an experience for me now, and I'm excited to find new foods and try new things and really focus on getting as much nutrition and health into my body as possible. And that's the whole point of this. So, I viewed this surgery as a tool, and that is what it is. It's not a fix. It's not a magic wand. But for me, it's been an absolutely vital, vital tool. And I can feel, even just 1 month out, I can feel that relationship with food starting to shift and change. And the control that it had over me is definitely greatly reduced. I don't want to say that it's gone altogether or that, my binging desires are completely gone. I still think I have a warped perspective of eating and food, but I think it's much more manageable now than it ever was prior to surgery. So for that reason, I have zero regrets in what I did.
So here's the thing, the surgery is a physical surgery. It doesn't alter your habits, it doesn't alter your thinking, it doesn't alter any eating, disordered eating thoughts that you have. So it's still something that I have to be cognizant of now, 2 years out, because my stomach is able to hold more food than it could at this point, for sure. And I have the hunger cues again, and it is very easy to slip back into old habits. I mean, I've only had 2 years of newer habits, of a newer lifestyle, and I have a lot of time in the past spent with a binge eating disorder, basically, and having that warped view of food and eating, and turning to it for comfort, and turning to it for joy, and turning it to for any emotion that I had, food was there. It was a crutch. It was something to reward myself with, something to punish myself with, to be perfectly honest. And so those thoughts are still latent in my brain in there, and I can fall into that. So the weight loss part, so the last 2 years that I've gone through, I don't want to say that they're easy, because they're not, but the maintenance part is really where the challenge is, because now it is time for me to take everything that I learned from this stage up to where I am and just create that as a lifestyle and continue that, because if I don't, I could slip back into this, and I don't want to go back there. In terms of how I'm feeling physically, I feel fantastic. As of today, I've lost 37.5 pounds, and I'm so grateful, first of all. That's just incredible to me. But I feel so much better. I sleep so much better. I fall asleep way earlier than I ever did prior to the surgery. My days are just fuller, I think, is what the thing is that I'm basically gassed out by about 10 o'clock at night, whereas I was normally up until midnight or 1 a.m. But now I'm up, I'm out of bed, I'm walking Luna, or if it's a weekend, Aspen and I are going to the dog park and taking her out there and walking around there. I walk her throughout the day. At night, it's either Barry or I take her for a walk. Yesterday, I walked almost 10 kilometers with her. Now, part of that was unexpected, and that was because I got lost in the provincial park. On the trails, not a problem. Trying to find my car when I wanted to leave, that resulted in an extra 30-minute walk because I couldn't find the parking lot. So, whoops. But having said that, I did it. And yeah, I was a little achy at the end because I walked for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours straight. But I did it. A month, 2 months ago, I wouldn't have even gone out there. Granted, I didn't have Luna at that time, but I would not have gone to go for a walk in the woods. What I find amazing is at this point, I was so amazed and astounded that I had walked for 2 hours, and then fast forward to now, where just a few months ago I went to BC and did nothing but hike for hours every day for 5 days straight. And so this 2-hour idea, it no longer impresses me, so to speak, because I know that I'm capable of even so much more than that. But the point that I'm making is within a month, my entire lifestyle had changed, and it still remains far more active than it ever was before, and I am so, so grateful for that. A lot of those days was just spent trying to minimize the amount of effort I had to put into anything, because to move was physically exhausting and often quite painful. And it's sad to think that was me a month ago, and I let that go for so long. And that's the only regret that I have at this point, is that I didn't do this earlier. I remember the week before I went to surgery, we had rented a cottage, and it's a beautiful cottage on a lake, and there was I want to say like 25, 35 steps down from like the porch of the cottage down to where the dock was. And I never really wanted to go down to that dock because I knew I'd have to go back up those stairs. And it hurt my knees, it hurt my ankles, it left me very winded and out of breath. And now I can run up and down those kind of stairs with no problem whatsoever. But the fact of the matter is that I avoided a lot because of my weight and my size, and because of just how difficult it is to be mobile when you are morbidly obese, which is what I technically was. So yeah, I'm just so grateful for the changes. I remain so grateful.
But here we are now, and looking forward. I haven't woken myself up snoring since I had the surgery, to be honest. Like, I'd lost 18 pounds during the 3 weeks before surgery, and I haven't, like, I just find it's so much easier to sleep now. Whether I'm lying on my side or on my back, I'm not feeling like my own body is choking me, which is how I felt before. So there's just been a lot of improvements. Size-wise, like, before I started my preoperative liquid diet, I was wearing a size 26, and frankly, that was starting to get a bit snug. Yesterday, I wore a pair of jeans that were a size 20, and they fit perfectly. And all of these changes play into the emotional side of it, of course. Wow, I didn't expect an emotional reaction. Aside from just being grateful, I feel so much freer from my own self, from that voice in my head. It just never shut up. It's finally quiet. And I mean, it's still there. And even earlier today, I was sitting on the couch and I was like, something's off. Like, what is going, it's just like, you know, you have a memory and you just can't quite grasp it. It was like that. And what I finally realized was I hadn't told myself how worthless I was yet.
It's a hell of a way to live. I just want to hug this person.
And that sounds so dramatic, but I woke up every day hating what I had done to myself the day before. It was this horrible, vicious cycle. And I don't wake up like that anymore. And it's just such a weight off of my heart. I wear leggings most of the time now because I'm constantly going out with Luna and walking. And I'm finding, like, I was at the dog park with her one of these days recently, and I got back in the car and I realized that I hadn't felt self-conscious while I was there. Whereas a couple of months ago, all I would be able to fixate on would not be the dogs playing with each other and everybody having a great time and the camaraderie of all the dog owners. It would have been, God damn it, my thighs are big. Everybody must be looking at them. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, I can't, I can't stress how much that I'm not making this up. I was so focused on myself that I missed out on an awful lot that was going on around me.
Yes, I remember well before any of this, well before Barry and I had kids, we weren't even married yet, we'd gone to a concert. We went to go see Katie Tunstall in concert in Toronto. And we were talking about that recently, about how she interacted with the audience and this and that and the other thing. And I do not remember that, because all I remember was how physically uncomfortable I felt with myself at that concert. I remember feeling like I took up too much space, and that was all I could think about.
And at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really gives that much of a shit about me. Like, strangers aren't critiquing me in their heads. They're worried about their own stuff. You know what I mean? But at the time, that's all I could think of was, I think I'm so gross, everybody else must think so too. Which makes no sense, because when I see other people who are overweight, that's not the thought that I have of them. It was just directed at myself. But I feel just happy. I feel like I have so much more emotional bandwidth. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I've removed this like constant nagging negativity, and it just opens you up for so much more. And as I was walking with Luna yesterday for damn near 2 hours, you know, of course stuff's going on in my head. I brought like a podcast and earbuds, but I was just really enjoying the sound of the wind in the trees and the birds and all that kind of stuff, so I didn't bother putting my earbuds in. And so of course my mind is working and thinking. And when I reflected back on it, I thought, like, I wasn't thinking about all the stuff that I had done and all the stuff that I shouldn't do going forward. I was thinking about all the stuff that I want to do. And as I was walking through those trails, I was thinking, you know, in winter, do I want to cross-country ski or do I want to snowshoe here with her? You know, eventually I'd like to run these trails.
Okay, so I bought snowshoes. It's a little underwhelming. It's not as fun as I thought it was going to be, but it's good exercise. And I have run those trails with my dog many, many times.
Like, I'm not a runner, but that's where my mind is going. And thinking about, like, signing up for a running clinic in the spring and stuff like that. Like, that's just, I'm looking forward instead of, you know, looking back and getting stuck on what I have already done. I now get to look forward, and that's just huge for me. And I don't even realize that it's happening at the time until I think back on it afterwards, and it's just mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful. This is the stuff that's not in the books. The surgeons don't talk to you about this. The dietitians don't put this on your radar. This is all new territory for me, and I'm fucking loving it. Frankly, I'm just loving it.
What I find interesting in what I just said there is, like, now I do look back more than what I was at that particular moment, but when I'm reflecting on the things that I've done, it's not in a negative light. It's not like, I can't believe you ate that, you shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. It's, you climbed a mountain, you have run 5K, you have done this, and I use it as motivation to even challenge myself to do more. Like, it's, look what you've accomplished, look what you're able to do, look what your body and your mind can do when you push yourself, and that just helps to motivate me even more.
Before I had the surgery, I was scared. I didn't know what I would replace food with. I was addicted. I can admit that I truly was addicted to food and the behavior of binging. And I was scared of what life would be like if I could no longer do that. I thought that I would just wallow in frustration and self-pity. And I thought that I would miss it, and I thought that I might end up miserable. Smaller, but ultimately miserable. No, I do not miss that. Honestly, that has been easy. I don't know that it'll always be easy, but it is right now.
I mean, going back to what I said, you can fall into old habits again. But I don't binge. I listen to my body, I'm able to do that now, and I can respect what it's saying. Whereas before, it was like, hey, you're full. I don't care. I like the taste. And away I would go and continue eating. And now it's like my body's like, hi, I'm full. I'm like, okay, let's put it away. You know, like, it's just, I just listen to my body now. But I've lost my train of thought completely. damn it. What was I saying? Oh, yes. But yes, the binging habits and whatnot. I don't feel like I don't wake up planning what it is that I'm going to eat that night. You know what I mean? Like it's just not this pervasive fixation for me the way it was. And it was so exhausting because food and eating and secretive eating and just it consumed so much of my time. And now I don't have that. I don't wake up thinking like, what do I get to eat today? There's none of that. And that is a massive win in my books. And it's one that I have to come up with a different word than grateful, but it is one that I am extremely grateful for because it's freeing. That's the best word that I can use to describe it.
I think I've replaced it with just peace. Even if that sounds cheesy, it's just sort of where I'm at. I'm just happy. I have no regrets. I feel so much healthier already, and I still have a long way to go. I'm expected, quote unquote, they anticipate that I will lose overall about 110 pounds. I've lost almost 40 of that. So there's another 70 pounds, like twice more of what I've already lost.
I did get about 125 pounds down overall, currently sitting about 105 pounds down, and I'm still incredibly happy with that.
I can't imagine how I'm going to feel at that point. I mean, I've been over 250, 260 pounds for, God, almost 15 years, at least 10 years. I think I might have dipped below 250 about 10 years ago. To be anything less than that, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what the future holds for me. And I'm just so grateful that this happened. I'm so grateful that my government pays for this surgery. I'm so grateful that I was able to take the time off to recover afterwards. I am so grateful that I have a partner who is the most supportive human being on the face of this earth. I am so grateful for all of the love and all of the care that you and people on other social media platforms have shown me. It all culminates and it all means the absolute world to me. And this is my life. I'm kind of, I don't know, in awe of that, but I'm just so grateful. And before I actually do cry, and before this gets even sappier, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you, guys. Thank you for providing a safe space for me to let all this out and to be open and honest.
All right, so I'm going to end the playback here. There's really not much more that I can add to that than what I've already said. I remain so thankful that you guys have just opened your arms to me. And like I said, you've provided this safe space for me where I can share openly all of the experiences that I've had losing weight, going through gastric bypass, and what life looks like after. And I can't describe how much that means to me. I don't know how to really convey that to you. And that's not to say that I don't get the odd crappy comment. I do, of course I do. It's the internet. People find anything to pick apart, but it's just such a small drop in the ocean because there are so many more positive people out there, and that's what I choose to focus on instead. And seeing how much of a positive response these videos have received just tells me that there's so many people out there with this shared experience. Not necessarily that you've gone through this surgery before, but you've struggled with your weight or with negative self-talk or whatever the case may be. And that's really what I'm hoping this channel is going to be, is a place where we can convene and share our struggles and support each other and share our triumphs as well, because those are so deserving of recognition and so deserving of celebration. And that's what I want to do here. So thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'm going to wrap it up here, but I will see you in my next one. And until then, just remember, it starts with one. Just one step in the right direction, one healthier decision, one moment of being gentle with yourself. That's all it takes, and it starts you on your journey. Bye for now.